A country we'll be watching closely this week is Mozambique, especially in the wake of the death of Afonso de Clama, who was leader of the Renamo political military organization. Renamo had been in talks with Frelimo, the ruling political party in Mozambique, to basically bring peace to the country. This is going to be a big issue for Mozambique because there was no clear succession plan to replace de Clama. So one of the things we're closely watching for is what actions Renamo take in the wake of his death. There's a couple of routes they could go. They could either look to continue the peace process, or they could opt to return to their old ways, basically low-level militancy in Mozambique. In the past, we've seen Renamo stage strikes against shipments of coal from the northern highlands to the port locations, and in the past they've also staged ambushes on the north-south highway running along the coast of Mozambique. So we'll be watching that closely to see what conspires. Brazilian Foreign Minister Aloísio Nunes is heading east for a couple of weeks. He'll be visiting Singapore, Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, and ending up in South Korea. And in each of those countries, he'll be talking with their respective foreign ministers to discuss a free trade agreement between Mercosur and ASEAN countries. It's important that he's ending up in South Korea because South Korea is in advanced stages of trade negotiation with Mercosur. Some of those deals were actually finalized last year, and there's ongoing talks, for which the foreign ministers of Uruguay, Paraguay, and Argentina will be present. However, talks between Mercosur and ASEAN are more in the exploratory phase, so we'll be watching closely to see what concrete information comes out of these meetings between the foreign ministers. And finally, from Eurasia, we'll be keeping a close eye on Russia today, specifically the inauguration of Vladimir Putin into his fourth presidential term. One of the things we've been closely tracking is the protest movements in Russia. Last week, opposition leader Alexei Navalny was arrested, and we've seen a number of his supporters arrested over the weekend. There will be a number of sanctioned and unsanctioned protests happening today in some of the largest cities in Russia, including Moscow and St. Petersburg. It's important to watch the protest movements around Russia, especially as we enter that season of demonstrations we see around this time for the last few years. Another important thing to watch in the Kremlin itself is how appointments change. Certainly we'll see Putin shuffling his deck. This will be in part to deal with some of the internal and external problems that Russia is currently facing. And we'll be closely watching who's in, who's out, and what particular portfolios are handed over.